in all of the NBA. So that's a great thing. So they could be able to get out there and get some wins. Let's take a look at some of the teams that they're going to be playing for the rest of the season. So it's not many games left. So the season ends pretty soon. So they just got a win from the Pacers last night in Indiana. So Karis LeVert balled out. And then also you had a new addition to the team. So you had Marcus Morris, and he had an immediate impact when he came into the game. Now, keep in mind, he's a 14-year vet, and 8 of his teams in his career, he's played on 8 different teams, and he went 5 from 7 for the field and 4 of 5 from 3-point range. So him and JB have a relationship since he was a rookie, and they signed him to a 10-day contract. So they're looking for him to have immediate impact with all the injuries. So remember, Donovan Mitchell just had surgery on his nose, so he got injured in one of the games that took place. And then he said, because he didn't come back for any amount of time, he knew, I think it might have been that second game he came back, he was like, I'm not going to be able to play the next few games. So there isn't any real timetable on his injuries. There's been no timetable released on Evan Mobley. There's been no timetable released on Max Strus, and there's been no timetable released on Dean Wade. So these injuries have kind of been a little devastating for this team. And, how do they bounce back? Well, one of the things is that JB Bickerstaff has inserted the Cleveland charge, excuse me, they're not Canton charge anymore. He's inserted the Cleveland charge. And so when the game got out of hand against Orlando, he inserted those young guns in there. And they didn't do too bad. They kind of did okay. They weren't going to be able to lead the comeback, but they did okay. And he also entered them into the game against the Phoenix Suns. So once again, they got things close, but it just wasn't going to be close enough. So, I think he wanted to get a look at those players and see what they could do. Somebody on Facebook, one of my friends on Facebook, I said, well, he put in what the future of the team is. And he said, really, you think that this is the future of the team? And I'm like, yeah, why not? That's the reason why you got these guys. So, you got to play them a little bit. And then you got to figure out who your bench is going to be in the playoffs. So you don't know how deep your bench is going to be. You don't know what injuries you have. You're trying to figure in, who's going to be able to get in those games and make an impact. I think one of the people that's going to be able to do that is Sam Merrill. I really like him a lot, but he had went ice cold in the game. Once he started that game, I think it might have been Orlando he started that game against. Not Orlando, excuse me. Might have been the Nets he started, and he went ice cold, and he couldn't shoot the ball, and get it in the hoop. So he was bad on his 3-pointers. So he's been getting in there a little bit more, and Darius Garland said Sam is finding his way back, and that's what you want. I'm a big fan of Sam Merrill. I said get in the games and let him cook, but it didn't seem like we had a very cohesive offense for him to fit into to be able to get quality shots. One of the things that we talked about last week is, I wish I could beg Darius to not wait until the 6 seconds left in the shot clock and then try to generate some offense, because nobody's cutting at that time. They're just sitting up there watching you with the ball, and then you shoot up a Hail Mary shot, and 9 times out of 10 it's not working. So there has to be something different. JB, I know that he's not drawing stuff up like that. So I'm not entirely sure, why he, is tolerant of that offense. I think he definitely needs to have a conversation with Darius about what he's doing and how this isn't helping their chances to be able to finish out strong. Nobody is going to be able to catch Boston. That's just how it is. But, when you go into playoff basketball, you're not going to be able to play like that. You're not going to be able to dribble the ball down to 6 seconds and, try to get into offensive flow. I wouldn't even say that that's an offensive flow with what you're doing. And I've just never really seen anything like it. And it's to the detriment of the team. And, like I said, I hate to say I blame somebody, but I kind of did blame Darius for that game against the Phoenix Suns, where we was in it. We could have won, but unfortunately, the offense wasn't flowing. It wasn't cohesive, and it was pretty awful. Also, our defense wasn't that great. We kept letting Kevin Durant hit shots, hit 3 pointers from the same place. On the court. And afterwards, he was asked, was he surprised that the Cleveland Cavaliers didn't do anything to stop him from shooting the ball at that from that same spot? And he said, I was surprised myself. So that just goes to show. And one of the things is we're going to have to work on our perimeter defense because we're just getting lit up by threes. There's some teams that were hitting them more than others. But one of the things is we're kind of getting hit up, lit up a little bit. So they have to improve upon their perimeter defense and what they want to do. So Marcus Morris has been added. I think they added somebody else to another 10-day contract. I have to look that up because I forgot. But right now they're just trying to stop the bleeding and kind of have a good place in the Eastern Conference to see what's going to happen at the end of the season, because you don't really want to face a team like, I don't know if there's a timetable when Joel Embiid might come back. He might be back for playoffs, but you don't want to face the 76ers. You definitely don't want to face the New York Knicks. I think that you can get past, the Pacers or the Heat, Bulls, Hawks, those teams, the play-in teams. But Philly, we always struggle against them, especially Joel Embiid. He's just too much, in the low post area for Evan Mobley and Jared Allen to be able to contain and control. So he's one of the issues. And when we play Philly, it's very rare that we've been winning against Philly when you have Joel Embiid. So that's a team that you don't want to face because that's a team that kind of gets the best of you. It looks like the New York Knicks are going to be falling in fourth place, so you won't see them for a little while. But there's definitely some teams that you want to avoid and you don't want to face because it's just not a good matchup. Last night, the New York Knicks went into Golden State and pretty much whooped them from the very beginning. They were up 10, 12 points, and Golden State had 0. So Steph Curry wasn't able to even do much and will the troops. So you got to be careful with teams like that. That New York Knicks matchup is just a bad matchup for us. I believe that they took 3 out of 4 games against us. So you definitely don't want to see them first round, and you probably won't, because if they stay securely in that fourth seed, I think that they will be okay. So about injuries, there's nothing that you can really do. You just play on, and this organization has a motto saying the next man up, and that's what you're going to do. So it'd be helpful to know. I think Donovan might be back within a week or two at the best. But yeah, nothing's being said about some of these players. And usually, when somebody's injured, they're given a timetable. I tried to find out I tried to find out how long these players might be out, and I was told they don't know anything. So, so nobody knows anything. It's being kept very mum. They have one of the best doctors on staff, Dr. Rosnick. He actually did my knee surgery a long time ago, so he is the Cavs doctor now. So he's one of the best orthopedic surgeons out there. So I know that they're getting quality care, but it'd just be nice for the fans to have some sense of comfort. And right now, not have this team continue to lose games because of the injuries, but they want to continue to try to get a decent place in the Eastern Conference Finals, and I think they'll be able to do it. I think they won't fall any less than third. And I think that they might be able to get to 50 wins. Last year, I predicted 50 wins. They got to 51 wins. So that's a great thing. So I think that they're going to be able to do that again. So looking forward. Hey, Hunt Star 5, we appreciate you. Nothing's up. You also didn't get a chance to answer, but I'm a guy. Oh, okay. I thought you might have been, but I wasn't sure. Hi, Mike. Thank you so much. Rachel, looking fresh to death today. Mike, I want to know what your opinion is about. I'm actually glad that you wrote on here today, but I actually want to get your opinion about what's going on in Chicago with Caleb Williams and Justin Fields. I think that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Chicago is going to regret getting rid of Justin Fields. So we were going to talk about that a little bit in football today, but we're still talking Cavs. So one of the things is, they went on the road trip. They went 2-1 on that road trip. So they had a win over the Pelicans to start that road trip off. They had a bad loss to the Rockets in Houston, and they had a win again against Indiana last night. So Karras balled out. He always does well against Indy. That was his former team that got rid of him, and it's always personal for him. So he's also in contention for Sixth Man of the Year. He's came off the bench. At first he was a starter when he first came to the team, but soon it was discovered that he was more comfortable coming off the bench. So that is where JB Bickerstaff has him. So right now this year is leading to one of the best benches in the NBA. So I kind of liked him being part of that Cavs death lineup, but I appreciate Karras saying that I'd prefer to come off the bench because you don't have too many stars saying that. So that's a good thing. And, right now he's showing his worth. Um, so, props to Karras. He's playing well. And if he could be Sixth Man of the Year, he's doing a lot. He's having good games. And, he's playing well, even when some of the starters are not playing well either. So that's a good thing, too. JB is snubbed for Coach of the Year candidate every season. I do not believe JB should be Coach of the Year. I'm not there. He has to get his team to the playoffs, and he also has to be able to win a playoff series. So one of the things is the end of this season, JB might be coaching for his coaching life at this point. So we don't know what's going to happen with him, but they said that if he they said that if JB does not win the first round series this year, that it's a possibility that he might be gone. And, depending on who the Cavs match up against, where this team is on injuries, that's a possibility that, he might be gone. And, they really have bought into the culture. They really, like JB, but you got to win. This is what, athletics are about. You got to win. And he said, Mike says, you all want Billy Donovan? We could do a swap. I'm good on Billy. I don't like Billy because he coached the Florida Gators and they beat the Ohio State University in 2007 in the national championship game. And I think people just wanted Florida to win again to be a repeat champion, which you don't have that often. So I think the deck was stacked against Ohio State. There was a lot of questionables called made in that final game. But like I said, I think that they wanted them to win. They wanted Florida to win. So that's kind of what happened with that, even though I don't think necessarily that Florida was a better team. And Sapphire, how you doing?
Good, good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. What's going on with you?
Hey man, the huge, really curious you're listening to your comments about Billy. Like, I just can't hate. I think he really made a program. I think they had Yannick Noah on that squad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he made that program. I mean, he took like nothing and built that program. So it hurt. It did hurt, but I just can't hate. I thought he was a dynamic college coach. Okay, let me underscore that.
Mike says that Bulls fans are in nothing but pain. Hey, y'all got six titles, so I don't want to hear anything. We only got one in basketball, so I don't really want to hear anything right now about Chicago and the woes that y'all having, because y'all have been a winning franchise. It's been what, 30 years now almost since y'all was good, but they got six titles, so I don't want to hear anything. And Mike says college Billy is cool.
Yeah.
Oh, and Hunt Star said he is a boy, or he's a man, excuse me. So, Sapphire, I know we were asking about, how does he identify, and he identifies as a man. And Hunt Star says, as a Suns fan, I don't want to hear all of that. And but Mike says, but Rachel, I was born in 2000. So yeah, but you still get to live, your people still get to live in the glory days of that dynasty.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Gosh, he's a baby, isn't he? 2000. Woo-wee.
Yeah, I know I don't want to age myself, but
I don't want you to either because I'm older than you are.
yeah, yeah. How you doing, Sapphire? What's going on?
Hey, thanks. I'm doing really a lot better. I mean, I was really sick. I mean, I haven't been that sick in decades, so I'm glad that's over and just really excited to be back on the show. I know we got a lot of stuff to talk about and I did muster the energy to watch some Cavaliers games and I just, here we go right before the playoffs. So, looking forward to getting into that with you.
Okay. All right. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. You've been listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM, and we're going to be right back.
Girl, let's
Thank
go.
you.
What side are you on?
Appreciate it.
Huh?
The commenter.
What is that? It's a survey. Here in Cleveland, Northeast Ohio. They're finding out if
Thank you.
anything has changed for Black women since Cleveland was ranked the worst
Thanks.
place in America for Black women in 2020. Do you remember that? Oh, yes, I definitely do. That's great that they're asking us, the Black women of Northeast Ohio, if anything has
because it was just
improved
me.
or not. Right, and I definitely wanted to make sure I share my experience with these classrooms, these documents.
We still gonna talk a little basketball and then move on to NFL. Huh? Deshaun Watson about to start throwing again. Deshaun Watson about to start throwing again. I'll talk about some of the people that they kept.
It only take about 15 minutes. But you gotta hurry. We have to unite and share our experience.
Yeah. No, when did Jerry Judy happen? Did it happen this weekend? Yeah, I think we did. We covered that last week.
Oh, I got it right here. Project Noir, CLE.com. I see you can also email hello@enlightened-com
That's what?
if you have any questions.
Is it Brown?
I'm so glad this is
okay, yeah.
Together
because we got a new contract too, I think.
Here in Cleveland and Northeast Ohio for Black women. Exactly. I'm gonna make sure I do my survey before April 30th. Thanks for letting me know. Now come on, let's go. Project Noir survey is brought to you by Enlightened Solutions in WOVU 95.9 FM. Our voices united, the Burton Bell Carr Community Radio Station. Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with
All right, welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. This is your girl Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I'm here with Sapphire, and I'm also here with Brandy. Hey, Brandy, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. I'm doing all right. We're doing okay. So Sapphire's feeling better, which is good. Definitely appreciate that. God is good. So
Yes.
We got her with us today. So she's feeling much better. So what do you guys, one of the things that before we finish up with Cavs, because I talked a lot of Cavs. So JB has been inserting the Chargers bench into games. So last night, well, not last night, but one of the blowouts against the Nets and then the blowout against Phoenix. What are you guys' thoughts about him basically inserting the Canton charge in and not using, his usual bench? But, also there's a slight balance to it because, you don't have anybody too. So, how is he going to be able to get through this season and get to the playoffs with what's going on with all the injuries?
I think it is hard right now just because, like you said, with all the injuries, he doesn't really have a choice of, bringing these players up and playing them. I think we talked, a lot this season so far about the players who've had two-way contracts like Monty Bates, Mobley. They weren't really getting any time. A lot of times we just saw them dressed sitting on the bench. So it is good to see, they've been playing well all in the charge game. So it is good to see, them get some minutes. They've been doing okay. I think obviously this is most of them their first time being in an NBA game. So, that takes the flow and trying to get adjusted to that. But I am curious to see, once the injured players come back and are in the starting rotation, which of these charge players are going to be able to stay in the rotation in playoffs and later in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have to totally agree. Of course, once again, Brandy's on top of it. You guys know I'm just a load management person. So, I mean, for me, this serves the other purpose, right? We need to rest our starters. I mean, they have been our thoroughbreds across the season, regardless of whatever age in their 20s they are, when you defy gravity like that over the course of a season, like it's just a matter of time. You're like, in my view, just kicking the can called injuries down the line. So I'm okay with this. I like seeing, what we have for the future, and I'm good with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a situation where it is what it is. I think Sharif Cooper, I couldn't remember that name, but Sharif Cooper, I believe, is on a 10-day contract as well. So you got him and Marcus Morris. And Marcus Morris came in there last night and kind of, was solid for the Cavs. So, coming off cold, joining them and shooting around, meeting some of them and shooting around. And, he was inserted into that game pretty early and he did pretty well and had an immediate impact. So that's what we're looking for now is that immediate impact and, people to just get in there and give it their all because, you got cores who are gone. You got three starters who are gone, three starters who contribute heavily. And one of the things I was talking about earlier before you guys joined is that there's no timetable when they're coming back. So JB has to do his best to be able to balance all that. And I'm not sure if he's going to be able to, because also one of the things I talked about too was that is he going to be able to keep his job at the end of the season if they don't have a first round win? So, he's coaching with his job on the line too. Mike Hughes says, "Hey, Brandy." He said, "Oh my God, that's the queen." And he said, "Tuesday's blessings with Brandy appearance." Mike is hilarious. So, you ladies ready to move on to some football?
I lay.
Yeah. So some of the news that's been coming out is that Watson will begin throwing in 1 to 2 weeks at UCLA. So he is on track with his program, and they said that they think he's a little ahead right now where he's at, and he's heading into year 3 of this contract. Is this the season in which we will be able to judge this trade as a failure or not?
It's kind of hard, I guess, him coming off of the injury that he's having to, I say, determine that. But I think it is a big year in deciding what he's going to be able to do in the future and next season.
Because remember, we're at the midway point of this contract.
Right.
Like, I would agree with Brandy as well, but I also think it's a reflection, like the organization as a whole should be looked at the same way. I am just, again, old school. When my quarterback is consistently getting touched, that tells me from a player personnel, a GM perspective, I have to do better, right? Look, the game, it's a fast game, but like, and in my mind, and correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, he's always been up against some type of injury, and I think sometimes teams in general rely too much on the natural athletic abilities of these quarterbacks. Like, Lamar Jackson, he changed the whole landscape of what we think of, as an effective quarterback. And sometimes I think teams get lazy and they fall back on that. They don't take care of the basics, like the O line, right? Like the running back position, your tight end position. So I just want them to slow down. I would like to see a 100% healthy Deshaun. Okay. And that's for me. I'm looking at the organization as well.
Yeah, we got some comments, but I'm not going to read those because there's no Deshaun slander on this station. So, Mike and Hunt Star, sorry, I can't read those comments out, but obviously it alludes to personal trainers and things of that nature. So, I'm not going to read those, but I think you could understand where they might be going with those comments. So, yeah, so him getting out there and throwing, is a good thing. I look look at it this season as a way to kind of judge, because if anything, Houston has, had the success. It's only been 1 year, but so far, some of those picks have worked out for them. They got the defensive pick for the rookie, and he won defensive rookie of the year. So they've been able to
Mhm.
make some headway with some of the assets that they got in that trade, and then not to mention CJ Stroud. And right now, CJ Stroud is looking unstoppable. So could he be as good as Deshaun Watson or even better? But you could tell that his future is very bright with that organization. And they killed us in the playoffs. Obviously, we played them right before, but CJ Stroud was not playing in that game. And then when he came to play in that game, we had no answer for him at all.
And they gave him time. His line gave him time. It's not a complicated formula, you
Hmm.
know? So, yeah, he's got nothing but upside.
Yeah, he started as a rookie. So, and, he was just amazing. So that's one of the things that, obviously, I'm biased, being a Buckeye, but you just knew, especially like against that Georgia game. Um, I think that the coaching at the end let him down as far as him picking up yardage to be able to get in the field goal range. So I feel like Ryan Day let him down a little bit, but he was amazing in that game. Unfortunately, he never beat Michigan, but I just sensed that something was special with CJ, and you got a chance to see it. You got a chance to see it this year with the Texans. So I looked at his star is bright, and it's going to get even brighter from here on out.
Yeah, it's gonna be an exciting, season to watch him, especially as Buckeye fan, right?
Absolutely. So let's talk about the addition of Tyler Huntley to the Cleveland Browns quarterback room. Um, and it's like, could we have had a shot at Justin Fields? I
No.
don't really know,
Mm-mm.
but
No.
seemed
That
like
would
we
not have
we
been a good
pulled the
fit here.
trigger really early.
I don't think that would have been a good fit here. I mean, I actually, to be honest with you, I really like the moves Pittsburgh has made,
I
I
know we were
really,
going to
really
get to that too.
yeah, so I just think, Deshaun as the player has been up against a lot of stuff since leaving Houston, coming here, and, I think for me, I would not want him to have pressure on his shoulders like that, young quarterback, it just the whole controversial thing. I mean, look what they elevated, Flacco, the way they elevated him last year. I'm glad that they didn't even go there.
Hmm. Yeah. Mike Hughes says he isn't mad at Deshaun. I'm just still hurt that the Bears didn't draft him way back
Mhm.
when.
Mm.
And then he also said, talked to a few guys in Hallis Hall in the Bears organization today, and it was a Fields decision to only want to go to Pittsburgh due to playing opportunities.
Mhm.
And Hunt Star said, all you had to do was trade a third round pick and a ticket to the Cincinnati Zoo, and y'all could have had him apparently. I don't believe in zoos. I don't believe in animals in
Oh,
captivity. So
my lord. Mm,
I don't
mm,
go to
mm.
zoos anymore. But yeah, some flaming hot Cheetos and a Tahitian treat. So throw that in. Yeah. But let's go ahead and talk about Pittsburgh really quickly. Well, or also, talked about Jameis Winston. I don't think we talked about getting him, but I don't know about that pickup. I didn't know he had been in the league for 8 years. It seems a lot longer, but one of the things is, his touchdown interception ratio. It's like 104 to like 90 or something like that. So, just when your backup is coming in, that means that something absolutely bad has happened. So, obviously the goal is to not have your backups in. But would you guys be, have concerns about, him being turnover prone?
I think you guys know I'm a Saints fan. So in the past few years, I think, he's gotten a lot better. He did have LASIK eye surgery, which was supposedly a big factor into why he was throwing interceptions because he couldn't see out there on the field, which is obviously huge. When he was a starter for the Saints, a couple years ago, they had only lost a couple of games before he got injured. So I know I'm curious to see, what happens if he does have to get into the game. But I think, the backup QB is the most important position in any sport. If there's an injury, I think the backup QB is the most important key to having a backup.
Yeah, and Mike says, Fields to the moon, hoping he whoops their butts when he comes back to town. So
Mm.
yeah. How are we feeling that Joe wasn't brought back?
Um, I don't know. I think a lot of people loved him, but I think there would have been a big thing. Like the first thing Deshaun messes up, I feel like people would be calling for Joe Flacco to be into the game. And I think they can't have that against their starting QB. Also, I think, he played great at times, but I don't think that would have stayed. And also, he's older in age. So I'm sure they were looking for somebody younger who could maybe stay as a backup for a couple of years because we've been back and forth last year. We saw with a bunch of different QBs when Deshaun was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, again, it's not so much the age because for me, Flacco offset that number
Mm-hmm.
because of his capabilities, right? I think it was more understanding what Brandy said. If Deshaun finds himself in a time or a period of time during the season where he's underperforming, then we're going to have to add back that whole QB controversy, and it just gets too messy because you want your fans to be aligned with your players. And for me, the subtext to this is when you look at from a leadership position, we have nothing but African American quarterbacks in Cleveland, Ohio. And I wonder, was that a part of this too? I mean, it is blatant, right? Especially in 2024. So I mean, I just can't wait for training camp and to really, get into some of these questions with the players. But that just stood out to me. That's where we're at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were going to get to that. So we're going to take a quick break, right quick. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM, and we're going to be right back.
Many people in our community dream of owning a home. Unfortunately, many also feel that that dream is out of reach. However, family, KeyBank is committed to changing that. KeyBank partners with a variety of mortgage programs focused on meeting the needs of borrowers, including offering down payment assistance, affordable and government loans, and solutions for first-time home buyers. The Key Community Mortgage is also a great way to help reach the goal of home ownership. It allows you to take advantage of low down payment options, and qualifying is easier than you might think. It's one more way KeyBank is supporting neighbors and neighborhoods in the communities that they proudly call home. To learn more, visit your local KeyBank branch and speak to a licensed mortgage loan officer. KeyBank and home lending products offered by KeyBank are not FDIC insured or guaranteed. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 399797. This message has been brought to you by KeyBank and WOVU 95.9 FM. Our voices united, Burtonville Car Community Radio.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady.
All right, welcome back to Her and Huddle on WOVU at 95.9 FM. Remember to keep it locked here on your regular radio dial at 95.9 FM. You can download that WOVU app so you can listen to us on the go. You can always listen online at WOVU.org. And then always you can give us a call, questions, comments, or concerns. You can always call the station at any time at 216-271-0959. We were in the conversation, me and the ladies, Miss Brandy and Miss Sapphire. We were talking about, what is going on with the Cleveland Browns in that quarterback room. And we had some comments. So I had asked about Joe Flacco, and Hunt Star said, definitely a nice little, first Mike said about Justin Fields to the moon, baby. Hopefully sorry, I read that comment already. Okay. So Hunt Star said Joe Flacco definitely had a nice little flash in the pan at the end of the season, but I don't think that's enough to bring him back. And it wasn't consistent because my thing is 2 pick sixes back to back in a playoff game. no. And that was it for me. That's all I needed to see. He played great during the regular season, but in the time it really mattered, he was known for interceptions and turnovers, and the turnovers that he committed were insurmountable in that game, and it led to a Houston victory. So definitely not going to be able to bring him back when you can go out there and get better and younger. And Mike says, I always think of it like this: if there is a QB controversy, then you don't have a QB. So I don't really think that this is a controversy. I think, they know what order, is going to go in. I think, DTR will be one of the biggest beneficiaries of this. I wouldn't say Tyler Huntley, and well, I'd say that Jameis Winston kind of is a journeyman quarterback. He's been around a few teams. And after just being in the league for like only 8 years, which I couldn't believe. So he's traveled some time. Tyler Huntley has had the chance to sit behind Lamar Jackson and learn a little bit of things. And DTR, who, you think might be the Browns' future quarterback, has a chance to sit behind these three quarterbacks who's been in different systems and learned from other quarterbacks. He'll have the opportunity to sit behind them and learn. So I think he'll be one of the biggest beneficiaries of what's going on in that quarterback room. Do you ladies feel the same way?
Definitely.
I just don't see DTR as the future quarterback of the Cleveland Browns.
You don't?
Mm-mm. I see him as undersized, not capable of being durable across a full season in the AFC North.
Mm-hmm.
He could put some weight on, but he's going to come into his NFL body, so I don't think he's going to be continue to be light in the britches.
Okay, well, we're going to see about that. We'll see about that.
Yeah, the jury is still out, but I think, if anything, I'm not saying he's Aaron Rodgers that sat behind Brett Favre or anything like that, but, I think getting that opportunity to learn and grow, and there's no immediate expectations for you to get that out there on the field. Like there was immediate expectations that, you're going to play against Baltimore, and you found out 10 minutes before the game that you were going to be playing against Baltimore, so there won't be any of that this season. There won't be any surprises.
I mean, I get it from that perspective, but I just don't want to, because who won the coach of the year. I don't want to go into that. I'm just saying, when I think about the style of offense that we have, and it just, I don't know. I think I'm just trying not to say the coach's name for a few more months, because it's just disturbing to me how he calls games, and to your point, how he threw that young man in that situation. I don't think that first, second, third string, or not third string, but third year players, regardless of position, are adaptable like that anymore in the NFL. It's just I don't know how else to explain it. It's like Coach Stefanski is just a mad player, and I don't think we have drafted or acquired the type of talent that's plug and play like that.
It's going to be Dorsey.
I agree. I think a lot of people
The whole offense changed. That's why you had Dorsey. The whole offense is not the same. Not play action. They don't have tight ends.
Wait, Brandy's trying to. Brandy was saying something.
I just said I think a lot of times we saw last year people were excited to get in after we saw him.
He'll be on practice squad.
But he was scrambling a lot during.
Yeah.
But the offense is different from that. There's no more play action like that. They're more 5 wide, 4 wide, shotgun.
Y'all okay? Oh, sorry.
I'm just going to ask Brandy to repeat what she said one more time. I'm sorry, Brandy. I didn't get all of it.
Oh, no, you're okay. I just said I think a lot of like his play that we saw in preseason last year, people were really excited. So when it was his time to play, I think people thought it was going to go really well, but didn't. I think we saw him, get pressured and scramble in a lot of situations. And I think that can result to being a young player, but hopefully, like you said, being behind these other QBs, he'll be able to learn some stuff. But I don't really know if I see him ever being a franchise starter somewhere.
Okay. Mike says, will DTR be on the practice squad or will the Browns roster 4 QBs? Probably practice squad. Mike said, get that boy in the weight room. He said, if I found out I was playing against Baltimore, I'd be going home too. And he said, if he said, Mike, you playing against the Ravens tonight, I say, no, you playing in peace. So yeah, that just wasn't a good situation. I think the Browns have definitely learned from that. It was and Kevin Stefanski won, Coach of the Year for one of the reasons was, what he was able to do regarding the quarterback situation and still make the playoffs, which is kind of miraculous. But that's just a testament to the strengths that you have in your offense, defense, and special teams. It all had to come together, for them to be able to win those games. And a few, I don't really believe in luck, but a few, bounces that went their way, such as, the missed field goal against San Francisco and stuff like that, where the game was basically lost. And, but that's why you play to the, final double zeros on there and the field goal was missed. So, that's a win for you. But, that quarterback room, I think it's going to be something. And, obviously the goal is to not have to get to your backup quarterbacks. So that's where we are on that. So Zadarius is back. That's a positive for Myles Garrett, to allow Myles to kind of do his thing.
Absolutely. And be healthy when doing it because he was injured for the majority of last year as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And we didn't hear anything about Myles having surgery on that shoulder, did we?
I haven't heard anything. You be?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Mike said we would have beat y'all if Mooney caught that ball, but that's the way it goes, Mike. That didn't happen. So it's that's why you play the game, and that was the end result. There's 1,000 plays that happen in games that is more than one play that happens. So you can't. It just is what it is on that. What was my question I asked? I'm sorry. Oh, Zadarius is back. Oh, yeah, we haven't heard anything about Myles having surgery or anything like that. And I thought that was the type of injury where he was going to have surgery. So we didn't hear anything about that. So that's a great thing, So maybe just with some rest and stuff like that, it will be okay.
Yeah, and/or are they required to share anything that they have done in the off season? I mean, is that fair dibs or
they have to?
Yeah.
But the player has to tell the team, but I don't think the team has to announce it.
So, see, the Secretary of Defense did worse than that, right? He didn't tell anybody he had testicular cancer. He just disappeared. So, yeah, I'm good with Myles handling Myles the way he's handling himself. That's cool.
Is he still Secretary of State?
The last I checked, but I've been out of commish for a minute.
Yeah. Okay, well wishes and prayers for him going up. I forgot all about that. But yeah, I guess, just like the Cavs probably know when, all the injured people are going to come back, but they haven't said anything. So, it could definitely be one of that. Hunt Star told Mike that but he didn't, talking about if Mooney caught that ball. And Mike Hughes said, enjoy the king of drops, Atlanta. And he said, wait, whose balls wildin'? So, but yeah, so Hunt Star and Mike having a little bit of commentary. So also too, one of the things is, punter Corey Bejorquez will be back. So, he was a key on special teams. So I'm glad to have him back as well.
I like to call him Hambone.
Yeah. Yeah, I love him. So he was one of the best punters in the league. We've struggled with special teams. Our return game is where we continue to struggle at, but I'm definitely glad that we brought him back as a punter. And Dustin, what was Dustin's last name? I forgot.
The kicker?
Yeah.
Hopkins, wasn't it?
Dustin Hopkins, thank you. Yeah, haven't heard anything because I thought
his last name. Who's his new spouse? I don't know.
No, that was just me having a brain matter issue. Was he had a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal when he got signed here?
It may have been 1, but I'm not totally sure.
because if they did, they need to sign him. He might have been 2 years. If they do, they need to sign him up for some more because he was one of the best kickers in the AFC. Like I said, our issues on special teams is Bubba Ventrone has to fix that yardage after, yardage after catching, the ball for, not a touchback, but, catching that ball on the kickoffs and punt returns. So there's basically been no yardage after that. And, always a fair catch and, the ball coming out on the 25. And I just feel like, it doesn't help our offense, to constantly be on the 25. You need better field position. So I don't think that was helpful to us at all, throughout the season. So also too, give me y'all opinions on that.
Yeah, I think the one thing is obviously punt returning. I think towards like the end of the season, we saw them trying to put a couple different people back there, but I think we saw slow improvement. But I think obviously that's like the biggest thing on special teams. I think punting, like you said, we've done great getting down there, pinning them deep. So I think that's the one big thing I want to see for this season.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to not have to stress out over, that aspect of our special teams play last year for me. It was nice because it was always something. It's like, yeah, they scored a touchdown, but what the heck are they going to do on special teams? Or the other team scored and, now we're back waiting on the ball. It's like, okay, are they going to hold on to it? Saying prayers before the doggone ball was kicked. It was nice. It was really nice to have that component of our game firmed up as far as, my fandom's concerned.
And then also we had Watson. We have a defensive tackle. Maurice Hurst and offensive lineman Michael Dunn back as well. So they were key peoples on the defensive line and on the offensive line. So it's good to have them back. And we're going to go ahead and take a break right quick because I want to get into some NCAA women's action. So we're going to be right back. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
Your family in need of a new medical provider, call the
Just
Village
talking
of
with
Healing
Chris.
Center.
Yeah,
The solution for quality Black healthcare. Cuyahoga County's first and only Black-led and operated medical center. All Black providers, caring for Black families. Schedule primary care, chronic disease management, mental health, OBGYN, and pediatric care appointments at 216-815-4325. Offering men, women, and children the quality health care our families deserve. Call the Village of Healing Center today at 216-815-4325. That's 216-815-4325. This message has been brought to you by the Village of Healing Center and WOVU 95.9 FM. Our Voices United, Burton Belcar Community Radio.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. I am here with my girls, Sapphire and Brandy, and we are going to talk about a little NCAA women's action because the world knows, I think, is that the women's Final Four will be played right here in Cleveland, Ohio, and it's going to be hard to go because the tickets are almost close to $1,000. So if you got the bread, go ahead and pay for it. But I have a feeling that a lot of people, are going to be watching it from home, and there's nothing wrong with that. And, even watching it in places around downtown is going to bring in a lot of money. Caitlin Clark is one of the biggest draws to the tournament. She's had a phenomenal 4 years at Iowa. She said she's not using that COVID exemption and returning back for her 5th year. So how excited, guys, are you for this tournament?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I think, obviously for us, it's a little bit more exciting because it's here and there's going to be a bunch of media things and all that, the whole weekend. But Yeah, I'm curious to see. I think one of the more exciting things is I think there's a lot of more traction to women's basketball being college and the WNBA. I think we've been wanting that for years now. So it is, nice to see all the men players, tweeting about watching their games and how excited they are to see them play. So that's the one thing, I'm excited for the tournament.
God, I absolutely agree with Brandy. Listen, it's a long time coming. I'm a huge Dawn Staley fan. North Philly, huge. I mean, what she has done with that program, it's just I can't even get my head around it. And I think also there's more parity in the women's college game. Fundamentally, I think women have always been better basketball players, but now we're adding the athleticism component to it, right? So you look at Full Wiley out of SC. I mean, she kind of reminds me of like Tony Dorsett on the basketball court with that, get that contact and that spin move to the hoop, and she could shoot it or she could dish it. I mean, it's just a really exciting time. So yeah, I'm very excited about the tournament this year.
Yeah. South Carolina, I know that they should have had a loss going into this tournament.
Which one?
Against Tennessee.
Yeah, and I thought LSU was going to get them in the championship game. That was a crazy game with everybody getting ejected and all that.
Yeah, you got to have the drama. You got to have the drama. I would say the one team that I think could still sting SC, if you could believe this, is Ole Miss. They played them real tight this season, and they're in their side of the bracket too. So, yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Big ups to Dawn though. I would love to see her man, she is showing that women, not only on the coaching level, but on the player level, are just as capable, man. I just love this whole story.
Yeah, I guess, like I said, I kind of, I hate dynasties, one or two, maybe three, but after that, it's time for somebody else to win. So, it is what it is. And Hunstar says women's Final Four gets more sales than the men, which is insane, but awesome to see the surge of support, which I believe is absolutely true. So that's a great thing. And he said ticket sales. And Mike says, I'm gonna be there covering it if you need a media pass, South Carolina to the moon.
Right on.
Yeah. So, and Mike says North, Flujay brother Wild. I don't know how to pronounce it because it got an apostrophe in the middle.
That was crazy though.
He said Flujay brother Wild, and he faced criminal charges for that, right, Sapphire?
Yeah. They had him all up in court. Like, I mean, how does our listener feel about that? Does he have any thoughts specifically about that episode?
Yeah, guys, let us know about that. And Mike says, I know Asia and Kai gonna pop out for Dawn.
It was crazy. I didn't know during the ejection that was Flauger's brother until it came out on the media after, but it's crazy. I guess he doesn't play about his sister, but I think that was not the time.
Yeah, he can't be doing that.
It kind of reminded me of when Miss James, came up on that court. Remember that, Brandy? Who was that? That was Boston, and that was with Garnett and stuff. Like, LeBron was more concerned about calming her down than dealing with the conflagration on the court, right? So, we're family, with Peep family, we got emotions, and I thought that was crazy though.
Yeah, LeBron told her to sit her butt down too. You can't be doing that. And Flauger's brother, you can't do that. You can't go out on the court. Like, what was he thinking? And Mike says he's weak for that. What were you going to do? Beat some women? Like, come on, bro. He said, I don't care if that's your sister or not. To be honest, you better have your girlfriend in there, but not you. Besides, they would beat him up. So yeah, because what's the little girl that's 6'8"?
That's Cardosa. I mean, I was like, wow. I'm thinking the same as Mike.
Right. So, South Carolina is the number one overall seed, and Texas is the number one seed in their bracket. UCLA and Iowa are all number one seeds. The OSU women's have the second seed in the Portland bracket. Michigan is in their bracket as well, and Virginia Tech, who bounced them out last year. So, Ohio State, they were the number 2 team in the country until they ran into Caitlin Clark at Iowa. It was a historic game and all that stuff for her. So, you know, that, you know, there was going to be a lot of foul calls that were not going to go in OSU's favor, putting Iowa on the line. And I hate to, you know, blame officiating, but we all know, you know, how biased it is. And, you know, it's going to be biased towards a great player like Caitlin Clark. So, you know, it's not much Ohio State is going to be able to do. They didn't play well at all, you know, either. But, you know, a lot of things, you know, it is what it is. But so hopefully, you know, if they do face Virginia Tech this year, you know, they can you know, not be bounced. And USC is the number 1 seed in the bracket. Can Ohio State right the ship after a bad loss to Iowa? And then they got upset in the first round to Maryland in the Big Ten tournament. So do we see Ohio State being able to go deep and make a run in this tournament?
I'm not sure yet. I think it's possible. I think they'll probably do better than we saw last time. So, you know, hopefully being 2 seed, I think if they win this first round, they're either going to play Duke or Richmond, which will be a tough game, even though Ohio State's ranked higher. But I think, you know, they'll be able to possibly win the first or 2 games.
Yeah, they get them at home
I'll
too,
ride
which is
with
good.
Brandy on that. Yeah, I'll ride with her on that.
Yeah, Mike says Cardozo would put him in the ICU, and he says I'm 5'8". Cardozo is definitely putting the paws on me. Mike is crazy. The Ohio State men's was invited to the NIT. Whoop-de-whoop. But they did name Diebler as the head coach going forward. Jack, right? John was a brother, and I think is this Jack Diebler?
I believe.
It slipped my mind. Jake Diebler. So he's been named as the new OSU coach. So, you know, the new athletic director had a lot of input in it. And, you know, that was his selection, and the boys played a lot better under him than Chris Holtman. They came off, you know, beating Purdue in his first game. So, you know, that was kind of awesome as well. So, you know, we'll see. And, you know, they said he was a great recruiter as well. So we'll see whatever recruits we'll be able to get down in Columbus. And Major League Baseball, Shane Bieber was named the opening day starter. It's his 5th consecutive start. And one of the things is we better enjoy him while he's here, because this is his probably last season. So he might be traded at the trade deadline to obtain assets for him, because he's not going to re-sign here where he can make so much money, you know, as a free agent. So you might as well do something with him before you get nothing for him. So
yeah, like, because who's doing anything? I mean, Dolan's running for political office. That should tell you where the family's focus is. Let's be real about it. They're not competitive. I mean, they're just not competitive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, you know, we'll see what happens. Opening day is coming up soon, and Revision Stadium coming up soon too. So Mike says, I'll throw you Pete Crow Armstrong for Bieber. So, ladies, I want to thank you so much for joining the show today. It's fun always talking with you guys. You've been listening to Her in a Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. We are out of here.